You saw the unseriousness with the committee could descend, to which it could descend. So what are your expectations now, given the fact that Scott Perry is, well, tell us about working there. What was it like?
You know, it's interesting because in the beginning, the very beginning, the Oversight Committee was not supposed to be this partisan stomping ground. There was a moment in time where they did very serious and legitimate oversight, things like looking at the BP oil spill, things like what happened with the financial crisis and investigating the financial institutions that paved the way for that. Totally perfect use of oversight authority.
Sure.
And then it got hyper-partisan. And remember, at the same time that this was going on, this is also when we were hearing all of the noise about Barack Obama's birth certificate.
That's right.
That's when the crazy started happening. It's when the Tea Party revolution that paved the way for the MAGA revolution came to Congress. And as those members infiltrated the ranks of the Oversight Committee, that's when you started seeing the crazy. And it's really something now, Joy, to watch those very members, those who were freshmen at the time, now become serious players within the Oversight Committee, within the Republican conference, where they can literally hold the Speaker of the House hostage so they can advance their radical agenda of conspiracy theories and lies.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring you in, Stuart, because Scott Perry is not as well known as some of the other cuckoo members of the Republican House, but he's the head of the Freedom Caucus, which makes him the head of probably the most powerful caucus in the House. And just an element from his long history of conspiracy theories. In January 2018, Perry speculated about an Islamic State connection to the mass shooting in Las Vegas the previous year, contradicting law enforcement's assertion that the accused gunman was working alone. I smell a rat, like a lot of Americans. He sounds like Dan Burton. This guy doesn't seem all the way, I don't know, the plug isn't plugged all the way into the wall. And yet, here he is on this committee alongside, 16 out of 26 members of the committee are election deniers. How's that going to work out?
Well, Joy, you know, there's a long, and I don't think you'd call it honorable tradition of that Perry is falling into. Dan Burton, who was investigating the Clintons for a sex scandal, had a child to a woman he wasn't married to, he had to admit. Darrell Issa was arrested as a car thief. So now, charged with a felony. So now you have Perry, whose phone was seized by the FBI, who still will not admit that Joe Biden is a legally elected president. He endorsed Mastriano, who was a guy that hired people and paid them to come be part of this insurrection, paid for their transportation. Look, this is very bad for the country, but I have to say, and just in a political sense, it's going to be good for Democrats because nobody cares about this stuff. And these are just nutty, unserious people. I mean, the more Democrats can put Marjorie Taylor Greene on the ballot, the better off they're going to be. I mean, this is somebody that doesn't think that we should be sending arms to Ukraine.
Right.
She's a Putin Republican. So this is going to be good for Democrats.
No, I think that, and I think they agree with that. And by the way, you did notice that Speaker Byron Donalds is also on that committee. He didn't get a gavel, but he got to be on this, which should be great. Speaking of Marjorie Taylor Greene, just because I think, I'm telling y'all, I really would love to ignore her, but because she is the boss of the Speaker of the House, we can't ignore her. She has actual real power. Let me play what she said about Hillary Clinton and an allegation she made in 2018. This is a person who is going to be conducting oversight over the White House and over the government. Marjorie Taylor Greene, everybody.
Yes, I could dive into Kennedy getting killed in the plane crash, because isn't it interesting that he had announced he was going to run for Senate just before he died in a mysterious plane crash. But anyway, so that's another one of those Clinton murders.
Kurt,
what is that?
She thinks that Hillary Clinton killed JFK Jr., and she's a QAnoner, so she thinks he's also still alive and a Trump supporter at the same time. That person is a extremely powerful now member of the Congress and arguably the boss of the so-called speaker.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is what happens when you have this ultra MAGA wing now hijack the entire oversight agenda, be in a position to issue subpoenas, have depositions, target people, to bring these conspiracy theories to life. And it just shows you the level of how unserious this entire thing is. I mean, for all of their talk about wanting to conduct serious and legitimate oversight, when you put these people on there, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Scott Perry, 14 people that are just appointed committee who are election deniers. That tells you everything you need to know. I mean, we might as well call this thing, it was Eric Swallow who called it yesterday, Insurrectionist LLC. That's what this is. I mean, would you really ask, it's like, hey, let's have Al Capone investigate Elliot Ness. Right. It's all backwards. Like when Pablo Escobar went to jail in a prison he built, guarded by his own people. That's what this is becoming right now.
Yeah, it pretty much is. And I would